is a bungee cord. It's made of one or more elastic strands covered with some material on the outside as a covering and with a hook on each end. I don't know whether it's spelled Bungee with two E's or a Y or even an I or an E, but I just call it a bungee. Maybe it's called something different in different parts of the world. I'd be interested to know if you call these things something different where you live. I don't know how it got its name. I've read a few things on the internet about how that might have come to be. I did hear that it might come from a British slang word for rubber, or that English glider pilots in the 1930s who used giant elastic cords to launch their glider planes off hillsides called their cord bungees. And there's another story about a Swedish man named Bjorn Goran Eriksson who made small versions of the glider launching cord, added the hooks on the end and called it the Bungee cord. But whatever you call it, and no matter how it got its name, they're very useful things to have around. Bungee cords have been used for all kinds of different things. Bungee cords have been used to drop a tank out of a plane. Yes, that's a thing that the military do, and they use bungee cords to soften the shock of the parachute opening. Of course, New Zealanders know about using a bungee to stop yourself smashing into the ground when you jump off a really high place. Yes, that's a thing in New Zealand. Bungees have even been used in space. Buzz Aldrin and his crew of astronauts used bungees to stop their stuff just floating around in zero gravity. But have you thought about how useful they are for chickens? Or at least for you, if you keep chickens and have a garden like I do. Here, Koo is in solitary confinement for a few hours, and the old dog run where I have her long ago lost its latch, but a bungee cord keeps it closed securely and easily. I use these electric fence stakes quite a lot to make temporary fencing for chickens. But when they're not in use, they do tend to fall all over the place and become a nuisance. A bungee cord keeps them nice and tidy. And of course, if I'm getting a load of bark mulch from the garden shop to put on the bottom of the chicken run, a couple of bungees keep the tarpaulin securely over the load so it doesn't blow everywhere on the way home. But eventually, bungee cords wear out, like this one has. The strands are nearly worn away and it's becoming useless. Oh no, it isn't. It's not useless. Don't throw away your worn out bungee cords. These hooks on the end can be used for all kinds of different things. You can use a bungee hook for a door latch. I use one to keep the chicken run pop door open so my chickens can come and go as they please. I also have a pop door in my chicken house, which is almost always open, but I can close it if I want to keep the chickens in the house for some reason. It's usually latched at the top with a bungee hook through a metal loop. And if I want to close the door, I can secure it closed using that same hook through another metal loop. The door to my chicken house is in two parts, so I can leave the top half open in hot weather. The top part latches to the bottom half with a bolt, but when I want to open the top half, I keep it hooked open with a bungee hook. I added a loop of garden tie to a bungee hook as a latch when I made a new person door for the chicken run. I have a whole video about how I made that door. And when I needed a temporary gate into the temporary range area for the chickens, of course I used a couple of bungee hooks to latch it closed. Because I have both chickens and a garden, I often need temporary fencing to keep the two of them separate. A couple of bungee hooks turns a section of fencing into a flexible gate. And when I'm finished with the fence and roll up the netting, the hooks keep it tidy until next time. The bungee hooks are great for hooking planters onto a trellis. And if your chickens don't get much access to growing plants, you can make a pocket with a bit of plastic netting, fill it with leafy greens, and use a bungee hook to hang it up in your chicken run. Not only do they get to peck at the leafy greens, if you hang it at the right height, they'll get some exercise too. So there are lots of different ways that you can use the hooks from worn out bungee cords. So don't throw them away. If you just hang on to them, I'm sure you'll find lots of different ways that you can use them around your chickens and maybe also your garden. I hope you give it a go. Thanks for watching. See you next time.